roll call of committee members. Nutter here.
Adams here.
Audie's here.
Waldera here.
Okay, great. Has everybody had a chance to review the agenda? Are there any changes or anything you need to add? Okay. I would ask for an approval of the agenda, a motion to approve the agenda.
All second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Has everybody had a chance to review the 11/1/22 minutes? Okay, I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Public comment, and Rita and I talked about this yesterday. Since we didn't get a chance to get Jean on the agenda, just to give us an update on what she's been doing with tourism and the Mississippi River, we will put her on in public comment. Is that okay, Jean?
Yep, that's fine, and I just wanted to let you know that I'm here, so.
Okay, you're on now because we're in public comment. So if you just want to let the board know or the committee know what's been happening in your world of tourism and the Mississippi River.
Okay, it's been, just kind of been a motion of, the 10-state map, for the whole Mississippi River Parkway Commission, which is the 10 states, that border, the Mississippi are done, and in Eau Claire, we will have them shipped to, down here, or someone will go pick them up, and then I will get them up your way, as well as working on the Wisconsin Great River Road 2023 visitor guide. We are in the process of that. Information will be going out to put a ad in that. And we're just kind of working on that. We're getting our marketing plan all ready to go. For budget, money is going to be super, super tight, but the money that we do have, we make it worth our while. We get a lot of response from it. We went through 55,000 visitor guides in the total of March through September, and we had to hold back a couple boxes because Explore La Crosse will be doing some upcoming shows in January, February, and they distribute our visitor guides for us when we are not together with them doing partnership. So that's kind of where we're at.
Okay, are there any questions for Jean? Okay. Jean, is there any way I could help get the information that's in Eau Claire down here, like pick it up or?
Yeah, if we could work that out, that would be great. I just have to contact the national office, which is out of Madison. And I can get the address because they're the ones that set it up to make sure that everything is coordinated, that everybody gets what they ordered. And then that would be great if you could do that, and then you and I could meet somewhere. I've got a lot of appointments, as you know, in between things, but
Okay.
That would be great.
Okay, Les, you just give me a call and we can work that out, and I'd be happy to do that and bring information back here to read or to the department.
Great.
Okay,
That's
thanks.
fabulous. Thank you so much for offering to do that. It's very much appreciative.
Okay, no problem. Okay, we'll hang for a couple minutes to see if anybody, the call-in number for public comment is 715-538-1770. So, do you have anything you want to say? You do not? Okay. We'll wait about a minute. Do you have anything? Do you have any public comment?
Oh, Jeannie, and just a reminder, I have to leave at 10 to 10 for my state of Wisconsin meeting.
Okay, I'm sure this meeting will be done by then.
Okay.
It's a short agenda, although
Yeah.
you never know what can happen.
No Bob today, no Mr. Petrak.
Oh, that's right.
Buzz.
Buzz.
Buzz not here yet. Oh, you neither.
But we have a quorum, so,
Yep.
which is good, because many times this meeting doesn't have a quorum. But it's been really good so far this year. Okay, I think I will close public comment, and we will move on to 7, economic development. And Reed, do you have something to say?
No, I'm sorry, I was just clearing my throat.
Oh, okay. All right. Economic development and tourism in 2022 review.
Dave couldn't make it today. He's on medical leave, so he'll be back in a few days. So he submitted the written report, so I can touch on some highlights. But again, Dave was hired end of March, and since that time, he's been out building relationships with city councils, village boards, towns associations, whatnot, all the different chambers of commerce, and all the different statewide economic development and tourism organizations. He's also been in touch with Mississippi Regional Planning Commission as they house a number of our revolving loan funds. He'll have to spend some time in 2023 connecting with staff again with Mississippi RPC because they have significant staff turnover there. So he'll be, but Dave keeps in touch with those meetings there. He's been working with the Wisconsin Economic Development Association as well. He's initiated some economic development training, including Economic Development 101 with the Wisconsin Economic Development Association. Social media, created an economic development Facebook page and has been spending quite a bit of time on business retention and expansion. And I can tell you, Dave and I meet weekly, and his conversations with various businesses throughout the county really keeps him in touch with what's going on, and he's been able to work with businesses and at least be in the conversation as a resource. And he just recently began serving on a child care supply building initiative in Osseo. So he's been supporting small businesses as well as meeting with Julie Fox at Wisconsin Department of Tourism. A bunch of his advertising in the tourism area includes Visit Winona and Explore La Crosse and Visit Eau Claire. We're a member of Trempealeau County. Trempealeau County is a member in the Wisconsin Ag Tourism Association. So he's been also led a citizen presence at the state fair, and has been executing the ARPA grant of $19,000 in 2022. That's the largest marketing campaign the county's ever had. And of course, you can always hear Dave on Getting Outdoors on WHTL. Of course, the Petrick Park 50th anniversary celebration, and working on the Friends of Petrick Park. So those are kind of the stuff he's really hit. In my view, he's really hit the ground running. And I think at the January meeting, you'll see his copy of his 2023 work plan for laying out the plans for next year.
Excellent. I wondered, can you tell me what the Facebook page is for economic development? I had gone out and looked for county Facebook pages not too long ago, and I couldn't find anything.
We have I'll send you a link. There is a link somewhere on the county webpage that lists all the county social media pages.
There's quite a few of them.
There's when you go to the tourism economic development, there's a link to the Facebook page. Because I just sent that to a woman who emailed me yesterday about wanting some information about Trempealeau County because they might retire here.
I do think it's interesting, though, when I search in Facebook for Trempealeau County, nothing comes up for that.
We'll take a look at that. We'll
Yeah,
take a
because
look
I
at
just
that.
feel like, for the general public, that isn't going to help them.
We'll take a,
I must like
We'll take
that
a look at
page
that.
because it shows up all the time on my.
Right, once you've been there, it'll show up, I'm
Right,
sure,
right.
but for people who haven't been, it's not easy to find.
Little, it's only important for people outside the county.
Yeah, I haven't.
Election Trumpealeau County, it should just pop up.
Yes, exactly.
Comes up with all these different.
Well, the tourism page popped up immediately yesterday when I was looking for it for a woman, so.
Again, I think that there's a lot of smarts behind the scenes in Facebook, so if you've ever been there before, it'll bring
Yeah.
you there, but if you haven't been there before, getting there seems to be difficult.
But I've liked it and I can't pull it up all the time.
Really?
Oh, okay.
Where's my phone?
I think it would be worth looking at, just so
Yeah.
people have it.
Because I liked it too, and I have a hard time. So if I've had a hard time and I liked it, it's going to be even worse if you don't. So, yeah.
Oh, well, we need to text Buzz. I didn't look at my phone. He wants to call in. Okay. We'll work on that. I'll work on it during the meeting. I'll see how quickly I can find it on my phone.
I just want to compliment, I think Dave's doing a great job.
Oh, God,
He's-
yes.
He's been out in more public, and he's more visible than anybody I've ever seen before him. And you hear him on the radio all the time, and he goes to these, the state fair he went to. That's a huge step. And I think he's really putting his heart and soul into it and making a great effort, yeah. I just want to,
Yeah, I agree. He's done a great job. He's probably more visible than any
his-
county person.
Yeah, and I think nothing against, because I think he has 2 or 3 predecessors before him, and he's a lot more visible than either one of them.
Yep,
I agree.
He's got it in his blood.
Yes.
What, I was gonna say something and now it's gone. Did he talk about the Economic Development 101?
Yes,
Oh, okay,
yes.
that was really good. I
Yeah.
was so glad I went to that. That was amazing.
And I'm pretty sure you'll see in his 2023 work plan, that there'll be some additional economic development trainings. So I think he'll probably make them more, Economic Development 101 was very broad, covered a lot of stuff, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was-
It was a lot.
The women were fantastic who did it, and I think it gave everybody there some really good ideas of how to
So-
mobilize your area and things to do and what we can still do.
My guess is it'll be, the future trainings will be a little bit more narrow, but he'll talk more about that at the January meeting when he brings in his 2023 plan. But I really like what Dave's doing as far as the mix of stuff, emphasizing economic development and working on some really big issues, starting to work on housing, building capacity within the county so that, when you have elected leaders and chambers and helping them to build their skill set and knowledge, that makes economic development function better throughout the county because it can't be a one-person effort. And so Dave really gets that and is investing time in that. And so I just think he's really hit the ground running. And I think what Jeannie said it right, is it's in his blood. He has a passion for it, and so I think he's really doing. He just it's a new position is never easy. That first year, and he's really hit the ground running and has done it well. So.
I think what's helped too is there wasn't in the beginning 100% support for economic development and tourism by some previous county board members, and I think it's really drastically changed. And I want to, as long as we're passing out kudos to you two, who've really helped bring your whole unit back together, because it really struggled, and
Yeah, you
Yep,
really
so-
turned that department around all the
yeah.
way back.
And Reed's done a fantastic
Thank you.
job, so
Guys, yeah.
kudos to everybody. And Becky, you just have to make it snow, so we have a good snowmobile year. Speaking of snowmobile, I'm gonna pass the torch to Reed to give Parks 2022 year in review.
Yes, good morning, everyone. In your packet there, you'll see a Word document that I kind of put together. Actually, what it was is the uh, the 2022 Parks Manager Work Plan, which was adopted by the PTED Committee meeting on January 4th of this year. And I just kind of added um, some points that I'll touch on as we go down the list. That's in the top half of the document there. Then I just threw together a few other things, topics that I figured be good for the PTED committee to know kind of what's going on as far as this previous year of work that I've been working on. So starting on the top, um, the electrical installation at the Three Lakes lots. Kind of an interesting story there. We successfully put in all of the pedestals that were needed for the lots down there, and then due to some changes in interpretation and staffing down in the village of Trempealeau, we found out that we actually couldn't be leasing those lots down there. So we decided just to remove those, and they have not been removed yet. It's on the list for a local power company to do that, or I'm sorry, electrical company out of Arcadia to do that and move them up to Petrick Park. And then um, it'll be in the works in the spring to install those new pedestals into some of the overflow camping areas um, at the park so we can increase the number of electrical sites we have. So I think that, that's they're probably almost better used there than they were down in Trempealeau. So moving on to the two snowmobile bridge installs. Um, I've been working with the Anderson Bridges out of Chippewa Falls. They won the bids for these, and they do installations all over the country, and they were running a little bit behind this year. So originally they were supposed to be in, the second or third week of October, like usual, but they kind of kept pushing it back, pushing it back. Now they are supposed to be going in this week. I have not heard anything from them, but I'm coordinating with the snowmobile clubs because they would like to still save some of their old bridges for club trails, so they can meet them out there and then just remove the bridges, which will actually make the process go a lot quicker. So I'll be sure to give you an update on that at the next meeting. Um, as far as applying for new bridges slash culverts and new miles, the deadline on that is always April 15th. So completed a couple of applications in the spring. The DNR Snowmobile Council looked at them. We had it verbally approved. However, that's still in the process of being officially approved, but it looks pretty good that we'll get those new miles. And replacing a culvert off of Whit Hill Road, which is just north of Whitehall up there. So hopefully those go through, fingers crossed, and that'll be another, project I'll be working on throughout the year in 2023, assuming that those get officially approved. And then we started working with neighborhood planners last year to develop a park master plan so we could become eligible for um, grants and, increase our odds of receiving some private funding for implementing the master plan that we were developing with that consulting firm. Um, that all went smoothly. We did the public input process. Most of you were involved in that whole process and have kind of been up to date on that all along. But it's nice to have an actual plan in place. We have it on display at the park, and we have a narrative too that people can access on the website. And now the next step is to moving to the next point is to begin the implementation of the master plan. As of right now, I'm looking at kind of starting on that rec pond. I feel that should be the number one priority, especially after talking with the PTED committee and Mike, just because of the deadline we have due to the donation of the 6 acres from the Shank family there. So we're planning on using the fill from that pond for some drumlin type features along the west side of the park to create some screening, and then put a nice sign out there so a highly visible sign so people can see Petrick Park as they're coming by, and hopefully attracts more attention. We get some more park use. Moving on to the boardwalks, those are finally done. There's one more area that you could put a boardwalk, but that would be on the horse trail, which is in the north part of the trail system. And these boardwalks really aren't designed for horses, so I guess we could route them around. But at the same time, I've kind of decided not to put a boardwalk in there, just to avoid the potential of horses going on there, maybe damaging them. But the other 4 wet spots, we do have awesome boardwalks down there. There needs to be a little bit of adjustment to be done on one, but they are all in and complete. They look awesome. If anybody hasn't been down there to walk the trail system, it's great right now. You know, we got the ramps on each one, the two marks at the park. They've really done a good job and installed those ramps, which is great for running the UTV and pulling the mower over the boardwalks to be able to maintain the trails. I just have on there the normal park operations, you know, the day-to-day work of working with the park caretakers and reservations and all that. The conservation work, I won't go too deep into this because this is more of, you know, the ELU side of things, but you know, I did head up 3 conservation practices, two stream crossings, and an animal walkway project. Obviously, I work with other staff and DADCAP engineers to design these projects and lay them out, and obviously work with private landowners. That's always fun work. And then I'll be proceeding to do, you know, assist other staff in the office with any work that they may be doing, and then obviously I'm keeping up to date on trainings and whatnot. The River Trail Canoe and Kayak Landing Project. This is something that Blake kind of worked with. Blake was our intern this past summer of 22. To be honest, I did not work with him a whole lot on this, other than, you know, kind of giving him some, you know, advice and some contacts and whatnot. I know he was in touch with Buzz throughout the summer, and he developed kind of a map that, you know, kind of a preliminary map that we can work off of and try to, you know, get that water trail more up to where it should be as far as, you know, a quality of landings and signage out there, and maybe doing some advertising and working with Dave and getting it out there into the tourism world. So that's where that project stands. And then obviously Dave came on, and then so the plan was to work with the new tourism coordinator, because I was previously working with his predecessor, getting the 50th anniversary of Petrick Park going. And I feel that was a success considering the weather we had. And you know, people came out and they had a good time. It was great to see. And I didn't hear any complaints about it. So I think it was pretty good. It is WTCO is out there. They were able to, you know, film the entire thing, and that is available for people to see and watch. So if anybody is interested in seeing what happened that night, it was a good celebration. You know, good food, good music, and people had a good time. So anybody have any questions on that top section there? I can continue to move down to go over some other items that I had worked on throughout this past year.
I have one question.
Hey, Reed, Buzz, I would just like a little more. Is there anything, I didn't see any output from Blake. I had a couple of phone conversations regarding that canoe trail, but I didn't get the sense that much progress got made there this summer.
No, he didn't put anything out other than he developed that preliminary map and kind of worked with that.
There is a couple of documents that Blake did put together. He did the map and then another piece, and we can share those at the next meeting.
For sure.
I have a quick.
Go ahead, finish, Buzz, your sentence. Or are you done?
I'm done.
Okay. Kevin has a question, and then Bob Petrick has a question.
Sure.
Okay, there's a lot of questions.
What's going to be done with those lots now that the village of Trempealeau says you can't lease? I'm going to have to reach out to also Supervisor Turner. She's on the village board to see what's up with that. But what's going to be done with those lots? Are you guys going to sell them, or
We can't sell them.
So what's
Ever.
Never. What's the story with those lots?
Those lots were given to I shouldn't say given to the county, but turned over to the county back in, I believe it was like 2005 or 2006. FEMA came in, and there were some private landowners down there that FEMA apparently has a program where they buy out the lots, and then that program, those properties automatically come to the county in which those lots sit. So that's how we acquired them. I think I'm correct on that. And then up until the last couple of years, we just, you know, more or less checked on them and maintain them, and just making sure that, you know, everything's okay with them. And that's kind of what the plan is now, to just go back and make sure they're, you know, mowed and maintained. That's kind of our plan going forward.
So they won't. So they're
open
just
to
sitting
suggestions,
there.
however.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're in a
okay.
floodplain, so that's why we
Oh, yeah, you can't.
can't do anything with them.
Right. So,
Yep.
yeah, any suggestions, please, reach out and let me know if there's like to maybe ideas that what we could do down there with those lots. But, as Jeannie said, being in the floodplain, we're kind of restricted to basically the village ordinance and FEMA's, rules. So,
I'll reach out to a supervisor slash trustee down there and maybe see if we can do that. Thanks.
Is there any more information we could get? It seems like if we got lots, is there elevation differences than the adjacent lots? That whole area down there looks about the same elevation, and there are other people doing things down there. Just seems like these lots should have some utility of some sort. I think that's where Kevin was going.
Yeah, I agree. I wonder if there isn't a way to figure out what could be done with that space.
We do know what's permitted down there, and those lots, 90% of the lot areas are in the floodway, which is more restrictive than the floodplain.
Right.
And the village has made it very clear what we can and cannot do, and they have what's permitted in that zoning district is on their in their zoning code under floodway. And so at the next meeting, I can bring a list of what those are. But generally, it's picnicking, golfing, that kind of stuff. Things without a structure, things without living quarters, and things like that.
Is there a way we can take advantage of what we can do with those spots rather than having them sit empty? Or would the expense of doing that maybe be prohibitive?
I don't even think there's a question of expense. It's just you are boxed into what can and cannot be done. It can be a day area for picnics. That's about it.
Yeah, if you could bring that list, I could reach out to Ms. Turner too and get a list, but if you could also bring one too, that'd be good.
Right, and the village has made it very clear that we, and I agree with their interpretation of their code and.
Yeah, I'm definitely not challenging that, just what could we do potentially?
Yeah, it's very limited, and we'll bring that list at the next meeting.
Would there be any potential? It sounds like it could be an open space day use area type thing. Does the village ever have any interest in developing a partnership and creating a park space day use area in that portion of the community?
certainly something we could reach out to the village and discuss.
Yeah.
I could reach out. We have a supervisor on the county board that's also on the village board. Maybe I could reach out to her and get the conversation started.
That'd be great.
Bob, you had a question?
Yeah, Reed, since this is discontinued as of the first of the year, are we going to cap that well and then kind of know where our survey lines are down there so we don't have people infringing on county property?
To be honest, Bob, I'm not, is that well 100% on our county land?
Well, that's maybe why it should be surveyed, but.
It has been surveyed?
Yeah, and
I've looked at the survey, and the well is not on the survey.
And we went through.
It's on private property.
Yeah, we had a long back, Rick Niemeyer might be able to answer that, and it was his predecessor, the judge, who was the corp counsel then, who dealt, it was a long issue of trying to figure out that well and that pump house and.
We just, the county board just approved, or ELU just approved, and it's going to the county board for a sewer easement for the village going through one of these lots near where that well is. And that survey, which is supposed to identify all improvements on that lot, did not have that well on that lot. And that was a survey done this summer. So that means it's likely, when I look at our mapping, it's very close to the line. But I would think if the surveyor, if it was actually on the property, would have showed up on the survey.
Are we talking about Petrick Park property or?
No, it's
These FEMA lots.
down
in
in
the
FEMA
village.
lots.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's, there's residential homes in the area, and there's a community well on private land, but very close to one of these FEMA lots. it's about as close to the line, going over the line without going over the
And
line. It's one of those.
I don't remember exactly what happened, so it was right when I got on the board, but I think the county worked to give that back to those property owners. We no longer have anything to do with that well or that pump house. So it's out of our jurisdiction. But it was a kind of a long battle, and I don't recall the history.
So Bob, what were you looking for that with?
Evidently that, well, what we were told to start out with was part of the old swamp bar, and that's part of the property that we acquired. And since we don't have any use for that property down there, to cap the well and be done with it. I mean, there's just the way that land was turned over to the county from FEMA, there's no development, no nothing. We just have to upkeep it with lawn mowing and stuff like that.
But
Well,
Mike, I thought you said that the well was not on
It's
that
not
property.
ours.
at first it was.
I see.
Yeah, I believe that,
It was a discrepancy.
yeah, and it was,
Yeah, because I did find some older documents from some, like, there was some kind of, at some point, a FEMA review or something like that, and this is, again, pre-2010. It's going way, way back, old. I found the files by accident,
So we've had this property for a long time.
since the early 2000s.
Okay.
Almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and in that FEMA review, it showed that this public well wasn't supposed to be there or something, and that was kind of what Jeannie's been
yeah, that was the
talking
legal
about.
hassle that got worked out, and we no longer have any responsibility for it. Does that answer your question, sir? Okay. Any other questions for Reed before he moves on to additional?
I actually do have just a couple of questions
Okay.
because I'm not familiar with a few of these things, and I like to know. Can you tell me how we develop snowmobile trails? Like, how do the property owners, are they approached to become involved in having trails on their property? Do we pay money for that, or is it all donated? How does that work?
Basically, the private snowmobile clubs, so the ASCTC, which is Associated Snowmobile Clubs of Trempealeau County, they reach out and they work with the landowners. How the snowmobile program works is there's a county coordinator in each county of the state appointed, I shouldn't say appointed, but we're kind of like the arm of the DNR, and we administer the program locally in our county. So, I don't know how in depth you want me to go as far as like how the funding and all that stuff works, but as far as like private landowners, that is all set up by the private snowmobile clubs. So they have to get, approval and permission to run the trails through all those private lands.
So at the risk of sounding stupid, is there any opportunity or possibility, or what would it look like to be able to use those trails for, to expand ATV trails also? Right, so that's what, so I know that's the case in some of them, but I do think there's some properties where that property isn't being used for other things during the summer. I just wondered, ATVs are a big thing right now.
For sure.
So I'm going to chime in on this one because I did a lot of work with this prior to Reed taking over this position. There is no way that they will ever allow our snowmobile trails to become ATV trails because the majority of this county is private-owned property, and ATVs wreak havoc on the ground. So landowners will never allow an ATV to go across their property like that. Plus, the state money for the snowmobiles is mandated specifically for snowmobiles. So if an ATV goes through and ruins a snowmobile trail, the snowmobile trails are not going to be paid for that way. So the money will not separate and will not pay for grooming on those. It's very touchy when you have a county who does have both snowmobile and ATV trails. The regulations for what kind of ATVs can run on them is wheelbases and all that stuff is determined. But if we ever had ATVs run on our snowmobile trails, it would wreck the whole thing. We would lose the program.
And I also know a couple farmers in the Arcadia area that also lease or rent out the snowmobile trails, and I know both farmer families that I know, if an ATV came and ruined their crop, it would not be a good day.
Well, of course.
You have to remember that the trails are run on frozen ground, so it doesn't ruin their property, whereas the ATV is not. So that's one of the issues. And the other thing is it's just, At this point, if we already are having problems maintaining and keeping the trails that we do have, so to add anything else to that is going to jeopardize losing even more trails.
But we don't maintain the snowmobile trails. That's the snowmobile club, correct?
The grant that we manage maintains the snowmobile trails, but the clubs do it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And another question you had there was the private landowners do not get paid. Sometimes the clubs will do like an end of the year, event, get together and invite the private landowners out for, supper, hold up, some sort of a gathering or whatnot.
Or a coupon too.
Exactly, yeah. So it's whatever the clubs kind of decide, but as Becky was saying, the grant money goes to the snowmobile clubs at $300 per mile of trail, and those are considered state-funded trails. So right now we have about 246 state-funded trails in the county.
And
246 miles of state-funded
246
trail?
miles.
Okay.
Of funded trails.
And also those farmers and landowners are basically letting during the winter people use their land for free, so they should get some thanks too, because they don't have to, especially when they're not getting paid. So I think we have to, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Is that all?
More, but I'll hold off till the next meeting.
Hey, do you want me to continue going down the list here? Hello? Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, Reed.
I got you, Reed.
Can the courthouse hear us?
I can hear you.
I don't think so.
Apparently they can't hear us.
You can't hear us?
Okay, I can hear you guys now.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so you guys can hear us now? What in the world?
We got a mute button on.
I don't.
I don't.
Can they hear
This
you?
is pretty
Gene?
cool. Watching you guys on TV and listening on my
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear us, Reed?
I can now. I don't know. For a while there, I couldn't hear you guys at all.
No microphone.
Okay, go for it. We can hear you.
Okay. All right. Moving on. The camping season update. All in all, good camping season. Everything went smoothly. No real issues. That kind of goes into my next little point there. We have developed an online reservation system, which we're going to go full steam ahead on in this coming year. We were able to implement it in the last month or so of the season. Parts of that we were able to use that fall camping special that we had. So that it worked well for that. It worked well for, kind of the leaf season, color changes that gets some people into the park, and everything went smooth on that. And there still was a lot of people that were showing up and paying at the post. Obviously, we're never going to turn down,
Money?
people paying, but we're trying to transition the best we can and tell everybody to go online. So I'll be updating the signage and everything on that this coming year. As far as the facilities this past year, everything ran smooth. We had, there again, no issues with any of our shower, bathroom facility there, the class building. Everything went good in there. No issues with the maintenance shed. Couple of minor issues with some of the electrical pedestals in Site 4 and 17, but we were able to fix those and get them going good, so pretty smooth there. As far as the next point with the prairie update, this is the first year we allowed the prairie to grow. I hope some of you were able to get out there in that, peak color time, that late July, early August time. It was just gorgeous. Couldn't miss it from 93. So this is the first year. This is year 4 of establishment. This is the first year we let it actually grow, and we could really see what it was. I went out there with the intern and the park staff a few times to get rid of some of the non-desirable species out of there, and basically just more or less went through and hand removed each of those, each one that we could see that we'd like to not, spread throughout the prairie. But otherwise, it looked awesome.
It was really beautiful. So
yeah, we have those
congratulations.
there, walkways. Yeah, well, thank you, Jeannie. Appreciate it. It was nice to see it come in as good as it is. It's kind of makes you wonder when we do the seeding. We seeded it in November of 19 on 3 inches of snow, and makes you wonder, you gotta wait for 3-4 years, what kind of a catch you got, and I'm glad it went good, so. Let's see, moving on to the floor in the class, I'm sure most of you have heard about that. We have there was a little lip around the kitchen area, the original part of the class shelter, and it was, a definite trip hazard there, so. Had a bid or a couple of quotes come in, and we removed the floor. We left that outer lip, and we just filled it with, a new cement slab. So now it's nice and level across the whole thing. And then we also had the company put in some grit, and a sealant over there. You can't even really tell it's there, but it's kind of slip resistant, and might be something I'm going to do for the other side, especially on one of those humid, rainy nights like we had at the 50th.
Right.
It definitely got slippery that night. So that's something that I'll have that on the next month's agenda for the 2023 park manager work plan.
Hey, Reed, that cement, there was a donation used to pay for that, right?
That is correct. Yep. There's the Walderas from, a few years back, they donated some money to the park. That donation went to putting that new floor in. So, because I remember when they donated that money, they wanted it to be used towards the facilities. So, awfully generous of them, the Waldera family. So,
I'm just glad, Adi brought this up earlier, but I'm glad that you all and Bob too thought about making that floor safe so it's slip resistant, especially in the kitchen, because you're right, we did, we need to think about doing that in the other side of the building too, because at the 50th, it was really, with that humid, wet, kind of slippery, so.
For sure.
So if you get somebody that spills something on the floor with the humidity, it gets greasy almost to the point.
Right.
It does.
And that's why Robbie brought it up, because we had an incident in the fire station where a guy was just walking and slipped and really hurt himself bad. And so that was, I think it'll save us a lot of heartache down the road.
Yeah. Good thinking.
For sure. And it's very affordable to do. It's not difficult. So that'll be something I'll get done for sure this coming year. Moving on, the gravel in the parking area, in the campground, we had that done, I believe it was in July, prior to Ashford for the Arts. Just the whole parking area in front of the showers and bathroom house there, and then we had it run down the main loop. It looks great. Highway department came in and they used their, the compactors, and it's almost like what they do for, Adi, you would know probably the term for that type of machinery, but it's almost like what they do for blacktopping. It's just nice hard edges and really packs down good, and then roll it after that. It really hung together nice and not gravel all over in the, in the grass and everything that the lawnmowers are kicking up and whatnot. Did an excellent job. So that really made the park look nice. Heating in the class shelter, working with Aona Heating. They still haven't had a chance to get there yet. We are on the list. We do have an event that's coming in February, third week in February, and we're, that's going to be a perfect time to have that heater running in there for winter type events. It's not like it's going to keep it, at 70 degrees, all winter long, but for events, it'll at least take the edge off, which would be good, 3-season type building there. So that's been approved and couple of PTED meetings ago, and so we're getting the heater in there. I have to coordinate with the co-op to bring in a tank for propane at the same time. I still don't think there's that much frost on the ground. They should be able to pound through it, I would think, at this point, but I guess if it gets to be too much longer without snow, it's going to keep going down. So I hope it doesn't get kicked back till spring. We're hoping to still get it in, fingers crossed, but we're kind of at the mercy of when the company can get in and do it. Recently replaced the mower. We have it's a Husqvarna 72-inch zero turn. It's worked great. It was coming up on its 5-year warranty expiration date here. Never really had any issues with it. And another, we just replaced it with the exact same one. Went through D&D right there in Arcadia. They come out, they maintain it. We bring it in, have regular maintenance done on it, and we've been very impressed with it. So we just replaced it. It's on site now, brand new, and so this coming year will be its first year of use. And we were able to get pretty good trade-in value. I don't know exact number off the top of my head. I have to look that up, but got good trade-in value, and now we should be good for the next 5 years with that warranty again. And then another thing, I attended for the first time the annual Parks Conference last winter, which they have so many great classes and workshops there just on ways to, improve running the park and, for programming and, maintenance and managing people and that kind of thing. So I'm definitely planning on doing that again this year or in 23. And so with that with the kind of as my 2022 year in review, I will be presenting the 2023 work plan and goals at the next PTED meeting, and then I guess get back after it this next year. So if anybody has any questions, feel free. Otherwise, you can contact me outside of the meeting, whatever you prefer.
This is kind of more of a comment, but we've had so many generous people in the county that have given time, money, and of themselves for the park. And maybe we might want to think about doing something this summer, celebrating along with Friends of the Park. It could be under the whole idea of Friends of the Park, because we do have a lot of friends. And I think it might be a good idea just to celebrate all of the people who love the park and have given so graciously to the park. So just a thought for this summer.
Sure, yeah. There's no doubt that the local community and volunteer efforts have maintained the park. That's one thing that's been very obvious since the first day I took the job was how much people care about it and are willing to put in their personal time to, maintain it and get projects done. It's great.
So we can have a Friends of the Park party.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for me? Okay. I've lost my agenda. What's next? Future agenda items, discussions. Any thoughts?
Maybe the Friends of the Park update, or the membership and how that's going.
Oh, wait, and speaking of that, how to find the web page, it's really a mess. I just discovered that. There's like 5 different Facebook pages for Pedrick Park, most of which are not the ones sanctioned by the county. You have to go to, it's under, here, let me find it again. Trempealeau County Parks and Recreation.
That's the official.
And that's the official one, so maybe we should get rid of the other ones that are not, that were started. And there's also one called Fans of the Park, and we don't want to.
They're not ours.
We don't have.
Oh, they're not ours?
They're
So we
not
can't
our-
get rid of them?
yeah.
Okay. Well, somehow we need to acknowledge that Trempealeau County Parks and Recreation is our official website for the park. How we do that, I'm not sure, but.
And perhaps figuring a way to make it easier to find, because, like I said, it
Yeah.
should be something that's, shouldn't have to tell me exactly
You
what
have
I
to
need
go
to look
exactly to
for.
Trempealeau County Parks and Recreation, that's where it is.
Could we, for an agenda item, bring it back to the table to talk more about that property in the floodway in Trempealeau, so that that's on the agenda?
Question I had.
Go ahead, Buzz. Buzz?
Maybe I missed it. I was trying to get on earlier, but did you guys talk about how our budget came through the county budgeting approval process?
I think we talked about it in past meetings, but, there were some adjustments. We'll bring forward at the January meeting the adopted budgets. We'll have that in the packet.
Thank you, Mike.
When it comes to the economic development portion of this group, is there is it the right place to talk about rental properties? Or is that maybe an oversight of those, or if there is any opportunity for us to venture into being able to, I don't know, be a resource for tenants who are maybe struggling with with landlords, for example?
That's a good question.
Would that be housing? No, I don't know what that would.
I know that Western Dairyland does get involved in issues like that, and, they're searching out to purchase housing, some low-income house, because that's housing in this county, well, it's in this whole tri-county area is an issue. There's no place for people to rent.
Right. Mike, is this an appropriate place to talk about that, or not necessarily?
In my years in economic development, something like tenant-landlord relations, that would typically be in some type of community assistance, an organization with a community assistance focus. I would say more economic development is really more the bigger picture of incentives and coordinating housing. To me, that seems like more of a kind of a service.
Sure, I get what I'm following you.
And I'm not quite sure where that's being handled.
We do have a housing authority, there's,
Yes, we do have one.
yeah.
So we could maybe do a little looking in to see where that typically resides in communities, and if we have something along those lines.
I guess I would be interested in knowing more about what services Trempealeau County does offer for being able to, number one, maybe mediate or what have you for landlord and rental relations. That's one thing, but also, and this probably is more of another topic for a different area, but it impacts obviously economic development, the housing piece of things, right? Would be what kind of codes are there that are required to be kept up to date for rental properties, and who enforces those? Is that land? It might be.
Yeah, because they run that. We don't ever get into that relationship between the landlord and the tenant.
Right.
And that would be for I think it's land management, or just the courts, because they take the landlord will take the tenant to court.
And we do have mediation, in the county.
But that's not handled through our economic development at all.
We issue permits and inspections for single and two-family homes, but we don't address multifamily homes, which is more than two families. That's handled by the state or the municipality in which it's located. So it's really kind of, those multifamily housing units are really perceived as, or handled as commercial kind of projects, in a sense, even though they're residential. But we can put a little time in and see kind of how that's handled.
Yeah, and if this isn't the right place for that, that's fine, but I do think it wraps back around to the whole economic development piece because of availability of what would be considered preferred rental properties. We do have some struggles with the properties that are being offered for rentals, that people aren't wanting to use them because they're not necessarily in good shape, or the landlord maybe has a reputation of maybe not upkeeping their properties appropriately and those types of things. And that in the end, I think, affects the economic development side of things, and that's where I'm trying to bridge that gap between those two issues.
Good questions. Any other agenda items? Okay.
Maybe just talk about, that floor, the other half of that floor at the cloth shelter.
Reed, put that on your agenda for ideas.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Okay. All right. Our next meeting will be, I'll just look, January 2nd. Does that work for people?
Well, that's the court.
You guys are probably closed that day.
Isn't the second The third.
But
That's the holiday here, so.
we had trouble with that with another committee, we had to move it over.
Be the third.
Don't we meet on the third?
Yeah, it would be the third, you guys.
The third.
Yeah, that'll put it on Tuesday.
Yep. Tuesday.
January 3rd.
Same time, yep.
Does that work for everyone?
Yep, because I might have another Board of Health later on.
Okay,
anyway, so that
I'll be here.
works well.
You'll be here.
And we'll have, again, on a future agenda items, we'll have, back on that issue, we'll have the 2023 work plans from Dave and Reed.
Okay.
I don't think I'll be able to leave that, but I'll see if I can rearrange some stuff.
Maybe we'll have snow by then.
Oh,
Okay, thanks, everybody. Have a happy Christmas.
You too.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Okay, see everyone later.
Sorry, the meeting is adjourned at 9:25.